Why my mommy wants me to be sleeping with our landlord. After telling my mother that I was sleeping with our landlord, I thought my mother was going to be mad at me, but to my surprise she didn't. Looking at her face, she wasn't even angry, but rather she said something that made me shocked. Jessica, you know how our condition has been since your father left. Do what you can do to bring us money. My mother told me, leaving me in shock. I breathed in and breathed out. Then I asked her again a question. Mama, are you trying to say I should continue sleeping with the landlord? Why are you asking me that question? I can't stop you from sleeping with our landlord because you are already into it. You took yourself to him without my knowledge. So go on with it and keep bringing in money. My mother said. At that point I was confused. I thought my mother was gonna shout at me or scold me, but rather she is motivating me to do more. I gently stood up from her side and went away. Maybe my mother is right. I thought. I was already exposed to sex countless times with my landlord at that young age. I had a classmate in my school at that time. Her name was Annabelle. She was my closest friend in school because I don't keep friends. I shared everything with Annabelle except my affair with my landlord. I didn't want to tell her, because I was scared one day she may decide to tell everyone in our school. But after getting advice from my mother to continue sleeping with our landlord, I decided to tell my friend, Annabelle, about it. I went to find Annabelle at her place, but she was not there. I think maybe she is still at the school. I couldn't go to school because my mother could not afford to pay my fees. I waited patiently for Annabelle to come back because I was really ready to tell her about my affairs with our landlord and how my mother reacted to it. After a few minutes, she came back as expected. Annabelle was around my age, but she lived alone without her parents. I quickly told her everything that has been going on with me and my landlord. I told my mom about this and she told me to continue, since it brings us money. Jessica, you have been secretly sleeping with your landlord. She almost screamed. Hey, calm down. Bring your voice down. Yes, and that is why I am here. I need your advice. My mom is telling me to continue. Can you imagine? I realized Annabelle began to smile at me. I do not understand why she was smiling. What's funny? I asked. Look, you are not a kid anymore. You are a big girl now. This is your chance to make more money. Annabelle said. Wait, are you saying I should continue too? Are you saying exactly the same thing as my mom? Jessica, that is what all the girls of our age do now. We use what we have to get what we want. I always pay my school fees. I buy new clothes and get whatever I want. So you think all that money came from my parents? No, it all came from my body. Or do you want to suffer? Annabelle said. I was shocked really listening to Annabelle. I never knew all the money she had been spending was from her, sleeping with men. I thought her parents were rich. So you also sleep with other men? And get paid? I asked. Yes, it is not a crime. Jessica, your mother is right. This is real business. I can introduce you to rich men who want to have a sweet young girl like you and they will pay you up to 100K for one night. Annabelle said. Immediately I heard her say 100K for one night. My whole mind changed. 100K for one night. I asked. Yes, and even more. Don't waste your time with your poor landlord. Go out and meet billionaires who spend on girls without thinking twice. Annabelle said. Immediately I began to think about everything I was going to do with the money once I get paid. I thought about how it was going to help my mother and siblings. I thought I was going to be like a breadwinner to them. But I never knew I was messing up with my life. When can I start? I asked. Don't worry. Just go home and get yourself prepared. I will take you there by 10 p.m. at night. But on one condition, Annabelle said. What condition? I asked. We share the money equally. 50K for you, 50K for me. Without wasting time, I agreed with her and quickly went home happily that day. I will never allow that poor landlord to touch me ever again, I said to myself. As I walked into our compound, I saw our landlord sitting outside. He waved at me, but I ignored him. I saw his face. I know he must be wondering why I ignored him. As night approached, I took my bath and left the house by 10 at night. Just like my friend instructed. I got to her house and she was dressed very short. I have never seen Annabelle wear something this short. Take those things off and wear these clothes, she said, handling me a gown too. I wore the dress and I looked really hot. You need to look hot to attract better men, she said. I nodded. Make sure you are obedient. I am taking you to some VIP place. Not every girl on the street has the opportunity to go there. It is a place for billionaires and millionaires, she said. So we went and she introduced me to a man that I could call my father. I had no choice and I accepted. I never knew Annabelle had been keeping such a big secret from me. I was paid exactly 100k that night and the money was shared equally with my friend. She gave me 50k cash to take home. I went home the next morning. I saw my mother sitting worried. Mama, what is wrong this time? I asked. And she told me that our landlord threatened to throw her out again. I thought you have an affair with the landlord. So why is he threatening to pack us out now? My mom asked. Yes, Mama, but I have been rejecting him lately, I said. Why are you rejecting him? Better go and finish what you started or you want him to pack us out? My mom asked. Don't worry, Mama. Take this money and pay our landlord, I said while I handed her all the money I was paid last night. She counted the money and it was exactly 50k. What? Jessica, how did you get all this money? Mama, don't worry. I have been introduced to a new business. Even better than our landlord, I said. Whatever you are doing, just keep doing it and bring more money, my mom said, with a happy face. I knew I was not supposed to give her everything I was paid. But I gave her everything because all I wanted was to make my mom proud and happy. I thought making 50k every night from sleeping with men was going to change our story. Yes, I was right. It changed our story. But to a bad one. To be continued. Kindly subscribe, not to miss the conclusion. This is true life story you can't afford to miss out on. Please do well drop good advice for her in the comments. Stay tuned for the concluding part.